All right, welcome to my area where I get to test out, try out, do things with my tennis racket. Welcome to the inside of Dr. Topspin's tennis lair. Glad to have you all here today. We're gonna look at our Hyper G. I gotta relive it today, and I'll talk about why I love Hyper G and why it may be the right string for you. If you play tennis long enough, you're gonna break a string, and you gotta figure out what is the best string for you and your style and where you are. I encourage everyone to try different strings to find what you like. For me, I love the Solinco Hyper G. It's a polyester, but it's one of the softest polyesters. I know I'm gonna get a comment, oh, it's a polyester, they're not soft. Well, compared to a gut, yeah, it's not soft, but compared to other polyesters, this is one of the softest ones going right now in the marketplace. So why do I love Solinco Hyper G? I've been playing with it for about 4 years now. And first of all, I hit a Western style forehand and I break a lot of strings. So this string, I get way more life out of it. But for a polyester, this is one of the softer polyester strings. It is a 16 gauge, which is the thickest that they make, but I still feel like I get the most playability out of it. Let's talk more about why I love this for the rec player today. So let's talk about the different gauges. So this one's a 16 gauge. They've got a 17 gauge, which is a little thinner, and an 18 gauge. So why is that important? The thicker the string, the less forgiving it is. Maybe a higher chance of tennis elbow. So if you are prone to tennis elbow, I would recommend getting the 18 gauge and using a lower tension. I know the higher the tension and the thicker the string, the more of a chance of hurting this big boy right here. For me, I like the 16 gauge. It's harder to break. I get more longevity. But with this string, I string it way lower tension than I would with a softer string. So for my Wilson, when I restring this with my Hyper G, I do a one-piece job. Some people like two. I'm a one-piece. It's a 16 by 19 design. I find it gives me the most consistent play. It's my preference in it. Some stringing experts will say something different. For me, one piece. On this, I'm generally 54 pounds, which is on the higher end of what someone might recommend with a polyester. So it's time to cut the stuff out and put some new Hyper G into my racket. For the recreational player, whatever level you are, I love this string. I think for the pros, you're just not going to see it on tour because they've got people stringing their rackets all the time. They've got access to more things. For your everyday rec player, I highly recommend this string. And what you need to tinker with is the gauge of it, 16, 17, 18 gauge, and then the tension. So for players that have historically played with a synthetic gut, natural gut, you're going to want to drop your tension 5, 10, 15 pounds down from where you are because of the forgiveness of this and what it's going to do with your elbow and all the other metrics you want to mess with. So as I'm taking this batch out and thinking about my next batch of string I put in here. So why do I like Hyper G in my racket? Number one, it lasts longer. With a gut, synthetic gut, I get 2 to 3 sets of singles, and that's just a lot of time at the string machine I don't want to do. Also preference beyond the longevity of it. I love the way it feels. Polyester string is a little bit deader feeling, which makes me feel like I've got more control. So I'm not sending the ball out in orbit. I love that dead feeling. I can swing as hard as I want, and I feel and I see the ball still going to go in to the court. One other reason I love playing with Solinco Hyper G is the feel, which is unusual for a polyester. With a polyester, you don't get as much feel as a gut or synthetic gut. But for a polyester, surprisingly good feel with this racket. I love it. It's consistent. In polyester world, I'm just a big fan of it all. All right, so I don't want to tell you everything's perfect with this string. I do have a complaint. This color. And I know everyone sees the lime green. You know it's a Solinco Hyper G. Yay, good branding. However, I would prefer a black string because I like the racket to look that way. So Solinco, if you'd make some more color choices in the Hyper G, oh my gosh, bring it on now. So when you use a poly, typically your mains are the strings that break first. I've rarely broken a cross string. So one of the theories out there is maybe you just do a poly in your mains and then a softer string here. Great way to avoid tennis elbow. Food for thought. Give that a try. We've got a reel of 656 feet of string today. A normal pack of string, here's some Technifiber string, you get 40 feet. Here, 656 feet. So I can do almost 17 rackets. 17 rackets with this. A reel of this goes for $170 US, where a pack of this is $13. So basically, if I were to buy 16 packs of this, over 200 bucks, so I say 40, 50 bucks. One other thing I love about this string, polyesters in general, is once you put in your racket, they don't continue to stretch. So I find that with synthetic gut and natural gut, that the tension I start with and the tension that happens after a period of time, it gets softer and springier, where this one holds its form much better, and I get a more consistent play with it. Another thing to consider is what season you're playing in. In the winter time, I take off some of the tension because it's deader and the ball doesn't fly as far, so I want to give it a little more. But in the summertime, I string it a little bit tighter. Now, I'm talking 2 to 3 pounds difference, but I find that makes a difference when I'm stringing my racket. End of the day, I love Solinco Hyper G in my Wilson rackets. This is the best poly on the market, in my opinion, for rec players. Hope you got something out of this today. Y'all take care. I'm out of here.